Rich, this article just came out from News Nation. UnitedHealthcare taught us ways to deny claims, former employee. Now, on the surface, when I see this, I'm like, well, of course they taught you to deny claims because that's part of your job. I mean, insurance companies don't pay out everything. And I don't know if they should. I just say that up front. That said, what this employee makes note of is that the opposite wasn't true for approving claims or for having money in the coffer to help the patients, that it was more balanced in favor of denying claims than it was the opposite. And I guess if you were to say, hey, we went through a class where we were both taught the claims to approve and the claims to deny, I would say, okay, it sounds like you work at an insurance company. But her allegations are that it was much more favored towards stopping claims. So I guess to open it up first for you, like what was it like when you were working there? You worked under Brian Thompson's leadership. What was the financial situation like there? Do you have any thoughts on what this employee says here for News Nation?
Well, anyway, yeah, Allison, thanks for having me on this morning, and Happy New Year to everybody. Great question. So I think what I'll say about the financial situation of UnitedHealthcare, from my observation, was that it was quite good. When I started with the company in 2010, the stock price was about $38 a share. I haven't looked today, the market's closed today, but the last time I looked, it was somewhere in the 500s a share. So you're talking I started 2010, it's now 2025. So let's just say 15 years. You've had a stock, what is that, like a 15x? I mean, that's incredible. That's a lot of money, right? So, what I can say about UnitedHealthcare and what I know, and which is public information, is that their leadership they come from accounting backgrounds. Even Brian Thompson he worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, before he came to UnitedHealthcare. Their chair of the board, Steve Helmsley, he was with Arthur Andersen. For those who remember Arthur Andersen, they were the accountant for a little company called Enron back in the early 2000s. So, what I got to say is that all you got to do is look at the leadership of UnitedHealthcare, and it kind of tells you what kind of company it is. Based on the people leading it. And you don't see, they have a chief medical officer, but I'm talking about the executives that make decisions around budgets and implementation and planning and all that good stuff. So I would not be surprised. I didn't work in claims, so I can't speak directly on that, but I can tell you, you really don't have to train people to do a bad job, just because the history of UnitedHealthcare is basically, it's been an acquisition company as well. So it started in the 70s, and then they acquired company. Big acquisition that happened right before I joined was the Oxford Network. If you have any viewers in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, that was a very major acquisition. So they just acquired companies, and when they do that, they take the technology, like the back end systems that make everything work, and they just kind of lump it all together. And I can tell you right now, it is very inefficient. And I don't, again, it's kind of it's a built-in feature, probably, as they would say, right? Because we don't really need to train people not how to do the job. We can, the systems just don't really talk to each other. So, hey, and then, I can tell you personally, like, there's projects that have been going on behind the scenes to fix these issues for over a decade, and tens of millions of dollars have been thrown into them with very little results. So, again, is it a feature of the system? Well, I mean, look at the stock price.
All right. Before we go any further, here's a great way to avoid having an insurance claim and going to the hospital. You can go to greenpasture.org. Actually, I should probably say, my statement has not been approved by the FDA. Don't sue me for saying go to Green Pasture and you'll avoid the hospital. It won't help you if you get, thrown off your motorcycle or something, but it will help you with all kinds of stuff. It's a great product. I take the cod liver oil, fermented cod liver oil, butter oil blend. They have lots of great stuff here. Greenpasture.org, promo code Allison with 1 L at checkout. I have been taking this product right here for 12 or 13 years. I used to get cavities all the time. And this has significantly helped improve my dental health, but it also helps with so many other amazing just needs of your body. It's full of all kinds of great omega-3s and fatty acids, vitamin A, D, C. And frankly, the company is just a really great company. They are very health freedom oriented and free speech oriented, and they produce really just top of the line products. So if you're just taking a fish oil, I would say consider looking into this product and switching over. Not all fish oils are created equal. This isn't even really just a fish oil. It's combined with a high vitamin D butter oil, and these two work together in synergy so that your body can absorb all of the nutrients to the max capacity. It's formulated the way that Dr. Weston A. Price, the foundation named after him, he was a dentist at the turn of the century, suggested that his patients work on healing their teeth, because he was noticing that a lot of his patients with industrialized food were getting cavities. And he studied indigenous cultures, places where there wasn't processed foods and sugars and stuff. And even though they didn't have dentists, they didn't have cavities. So this is what he came up with, and this is what the company does now. Again, it's greenpasture.org, promo code Allison. UnitedHealthcare provides so much money to politicians in Congress. Enforcement actions against it will never make a change in behavior or a dent in its remarkable profit. So he's talking not only about layoffs, but basically that UnitedHealthcare is just so cozy up with the government, which a lot of these corporations are. We all know that's nothing new, really. But while this is all happening, they're laying off employees. So can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, are there a lot of people that were losing their jobs, and what was behind all of that?
Right. So that's great. So it's pretty public that UnitedHealthcare and Optum, so United Health Group, remember, sister companies under the big umbrella, they've been laying off thousands of employees for years, 5-6 years, like I said in the last segment or questioning. And that a lot of those jobs, and this is kind of a hot topic right now, HB1, a lot of those jobs are being sent offshore. So here, we just gave a plug to the current administration, but let's just tell how it is. When President Trump was in office the first time, he put a lot of restrictions around offshoring of jobs, and he's been taking some heat this last week, around his support of HB1. But as soon as Biden came in, those restrictions went away, and the offshoring of jobs within United Health Group went through the roof. This kind of segues into another thing that was very public last year, was the cyber attack. Literally the day after the majority of IT support was offshored to the Philippines primarily, United Healthcare was hit with a major cyber attack. It shut down almost 3/4 of the American healthcare system. So you got to remember, that's that Optum piece where we don't just, not we, but United Health Group doesn't just look at the claims. They actually own the technology that processes them, or right, they lease it to you, right? So when that happened, it shut down there was doctors I knew personally that weren't getting paid. So you talk about why they don't have yachts, right? And the insurance companies do that. Something to think about. But with that being said, that cyber attack, again, how did that get into the dark web? Was that a disgruntled employee? We don't know. Nobody knows. All I know is that the current CEO, Sir Andrew Whitty, who came from GlaxoSmithKline, a major pharma, again, he's another big industry. That was very, 22 million or billion in Bitcoin or something was paid, and we don't know. And it's funny, if you watch the stock price of United Health Group last year, you would have thought it would have been cut in half. It went up. So you tell me, make it make sense, right? So tying back into the layoffs, I think it's, again, a built-in feature, right? When you get into these too big to fail organizations, the 40 years in a job and a gold watch left this country a long time ago, and will probably never come back in my lifetime. I hope it does. Where you're not rewarded for hard work or dedication. You're a drain on the system. This is our system is not about providing services. We move money around. That's all we do in the United States. We have the global reserve currency. And that's why it's like, we want to point a finger and say, hey, it was that guy's problem, or it's the insurance companies, or it's the doctors, or it's the hospitals. But there's a larger systemic issue going on here. And it really stems from government intervention into healthcare. I think some people think back to a simpler time when, oh, I could go to a doctor for $10 and this is like not that long ago, 50, 60 years ago. And it all kind of started in the 1960s with the Great Society under Lyndon Johnson. They brought in government money into healthcare. Then in the early 70s, Nixon signed in the HMO Act where he allowed managed care in the health insurance industry. And we just, there's a great website on the internet. It's called, What Happened in 1971 or What the Hell Happened in 1971. That's when all these industries, education, healthcare, government, the charts go up and to the right. So, kind of putting yourself into these like people's, say you're Brian Thompson or Sir Andrew Whitty or Stephen Helmsley. They're really not in the business about providing care. They're in the business of making money and moving money around. And if they have to fire somebody, well, I guess that's what they're going to do.
Join Locals if you haven't yet. It's a great way to support the show. $5 a month, and it keeps me going. Plus, you get to ask questions during my interviews and also correct me when I'm wrong. And DMSR clarifies the WARN Act requires a company to give employees advance notice of mass layoffs. And if the company fails to give proper notice, they are supposed to make up for that lack in severance money to those who lose jobs. So we always learn something new during the show. My audience is definitely way smarter than I am.